The first explosion tore through Deck 6 like a metal scream. Captain Mara Volkov barely registered the shockwave before instinct drove her to the floor, rolling behind the half-melted remains of a bulkhead. The red haze of emergency lights flickered over blood-streaked steel, broken bodies, and the acrid stench of burned circuitry. Somewhere overhead, the hull groaned, a warning that air was already leaking into the void. "On your feet, Wraiths!" Mara barked, voice cutting through the chaos. Her strike team snapped to attention. Harker, her second in command, wiped blood from his visor. Three more, Silva, Cato, and the rookie, Chen, huddled behind crates, weapons trembling in their hands. They'd been the last line. Now, they were just survivors on borrowed minutes. "Report," she snapped. "Vrax breach teams everywhere," Harker answered, checking the charge on his railgun. "No reinforcements left. Command's gone dark." Mara gritted her teeth. The Vrax were methodical, they never left anything to chance. Their towering, insectoid frames moved through the corridors with nightmarish grace, energy blades flickering, picking off survivors one by one. The few humans left on Station Daedalus were scattered, isolated, and terrified. "Set fallback point Delta. We hold the reactor or we all die." No one argued. They moved, silent, deadly, cutting through smoke-filled corridors as the station crumbled around them. Mara's mind ran calculations with machine precision. Every loss was a subtraction she couldn't afford. But then the calm in her ear clicked, a hiss of static, followed by a voice she recognized. Private Simmons, supposed to be holding the escape pods. "They're here." "I know. Please." A high-pitched screech, the telltale sound of a Vrax cutting torch, and then silence. Mara signaled a halt. Her fingers danced over the neural implant at her temple, calling up a map. The Vrax were hurting them, forcing them toward the lower decks, where air was thinnest and escape impossible. She glanced at Harker. "They want us boxed in. Someone's feeding them our positions." Cato swore. "A mole? Only way they'd be this precise." Before Mara could reply, a dull thud rattled the floor. From the shadows behind them, a figure stepped forward, armor blackened, rifle raised. Harker's eyes went wide. "Silva?" But Silva didn't lower his weapon. He spoke, voice dead and mechanical. "Forgive me, Mara. I did what I had to." A shot cracked. Harker's head jerked back, blood spattered across the bulkhead as he crumpled. Mara didn't hesitate. She fired once, catching Silva in the thigh, dropping him. Chen dove for cover, while Cato tackled Silva, wrenching the rifle free. The traitor spat blood, eyes wild. "They promised we'd live," Silva hissed, panic and shame warring in his expression. "I sent the coordinates, they know about the failsafe in the core." Mara's mind raced. That meant Zirak, the Vrax Archon, would hit the reactor any moment. If he succeeded, the last human stronghold on Earth would vanish in radioactive fire. She pressed her boot to Silva's chest. "How many more like you?" He coughed. "2, maybe 3. They're everywhere. You can't win." Her reply was ice. "Watch me." The station shuddered, a tremor signaling that the Vrax had breached the inner hull. Time had run out. Mara glanced at Cato and Chen. "We move. Leave him. He's made his choice." Chen's voice quivered. "Ma'am, what now?" "We go for the core. We blow it before Zirak gets his prize. If anyone's left on this station, they go with us, or they don't go at all." Cato looked sick, but nodded. Mara led them down the maintenance shaft, moving fast, keeping low. Silva's sobs faded as the distance grew, replaced by the rumble of fighting and the shrieks of dying humans echoing through the decks. As they neared the reactor, a new alarm blared, decompression warning. Vrax were venting the oxygen, suffocating resistance without firing a shot. Mara's breath turned ragged as the air thinned. Seal your helmets, she ordered, locking her own. Sweat pooled in her collar as they moved through strobing red lights, the world turning ghostly and hollow. They reached the core access just as a squad of Vrax stormtroopers materialized at the end of the hall. Mara dropped to one knee, unleashed a barrage of gunfire, and watched two Vrax tumble bleeding green, twitching like shattered puppets. But more poured in. She jammed the door control. Inside. Now. Cato and Chen dove through. Mara followed, sealing the hatch behind her. Inside, darkness. Only the blue glow of the reactor and the ominous voice in her head. Humanity's odds, less than zero. Her neural AI, cold as the void. She allowed herself a thin, savage smile. Then we make our own odds. The traitor's warning still echoed in her ears. The Vrax were coming. Earth's last hope was a dying reactor and a handful of battered survivors. But Mara wasn't finished, not yet. The war for humanity's future would start and end here. Mara braced herself against the reinforced door as it buckled under Vrax blows. The hiss of decompression was a constant reminder, every breath could be her last. Cato and Chen crouched nearby, faces lit by the cold blue pulse of the reactor. Their eyes darted from the entrance to their captain, searching for a sign of hope. The AI's voice echoed through Mara's neural implant, emotionless, calculating. 2 minutes until breach. Hostiles, 8, armed, converging. Reactor integrity, critical. She kept her fear hidden. How much power do we need to trigger the overload? 70% capacity. Current, 46. Increase output, manual override. Manual override. It meant crawling into the reactor's heart, rerouting fuses while radiation gnawed at her bones. Mara glanced at Cato, whose hand shook as he loaded a fresh mag. I'll handle the core. You two cover the door. If they get through before I'm done, make every shot count. Neither argued. They understood. There was no heroism left, only duty. She slipped between the humming coils, every surface slick with condensation. Each step closer to the reactor felt like stepping into a furnace. Sweat prickled beneath her armor. Her fingers danced across the ancient control panels, yanking cables, bypassing safeties, ignoring the AI's cold warnings about radiation spikes. The core began to whine, a high-pitched, desperate sound. Outside, plasma fire flashed. Cato cursed. Mara, they're cutting through. She ignored the panic in his voice, focusing instead on the glowing sequence before her. A final lever jammed. She threw her shoulder into it. Sparks burst, heat flared, but the readout climbed. 60. 65. 70, the AI reported. Mara clambered out, face pale, lips cracked. Cato, Chen, fall back. A Vrax blade punched through the door, sizzling against steel. Chen's rifle barked, dropping the first invader before it could fully emerge. Cato tossed a grenade, fire blossoming in the corridor. Still, the enemy pressed in, relentless, cold, mechanical. Suddenly, the traitor Silva's voice crackled over Mara's calm, pleading. Don't do it. They have hostages, children from the city. Zirak will kill them if you blow the core. Mara froze. The AI interjected, tactical options, proceed. Collateral damage, total. Or, attempt boarding the flagship and rescue hostages. Odds, 3%. 3%. A death sentence. Cato's voice, hoarse and ragged, broke through the silence. We came this far to save what's left, Mara. Not just to die heroes. Chen, blood on her armor, nodded. There's more to us than making a last stand. Mara stared at the readout, reactor humming beneath her boots, and felt the old, burning fury return, the stubborn refusal to surrender that made humans monsters and alien nightmares. She tapped her neural link. AI, patch me into pirate comms. All of them. Now. Static filled her head, then angry, frightened voices. Ex-Marines, outlaws, scavengers, each clinging to life, desperate, but still listening. "This is Captain Mara Volkov," she growled, voice amplified, fierce. "The Vraks have our people, our children. You want to die on your knees, or take their flagship and shove it down Zirak's throat?" Silence, then a gruff laugh. "About time someone asked." "We're with you, Wraith," another voice barked. More joined in, courage rippling through the battered ranks of humanity like fire catching dry grass. Mara relayed the plan. She, Kato, and Chen would punch through the breach, reach the hangar, and commandeer a Vrak's assault shuttle. Meanwhile, the pirates and marines would create diversions, giving them a fighting chance. "Move!" Mara snapped. Kato fired at the door, blasting it open. They surged into the corridor, guns blazing, cutting through confused Vrak shock troops. The world was a blur of green blood and sparks. They reached the hangar, a war zone of burning shuttles, twisted metal, and bodies. Chen dropped to one knee, sniping at distant targets. Kato ran interference, laying down suppressive fire. Mara leapt into the nearest shuttle, overriding the controls with her AI's help. "Get in now!" The hatch closed as plasma bolts chewed through the hull. The shuttle roared to life, lurching from the hangar into the debris-choked void. Vrak ships immediately swarmed to intercept. Inside the cramped cockpit, Mara's hands flew across the controls. "AI, plot me a course, fast, unpredictable, human. Calculating. Warning, probability of survival." She cut it off. "I'm not asking for odds. Just a path." As the shuttle darted and weaved, pursued by alien fighters, Mara's comm crackled again. Zirak's voice, calm and cold, filled the cabin. "You surprise me, Captain. Surrender now. Spare your species further agony." Mara's laugh was wild, defiant. "You started this war because you feared what we could do when cornered. You wanted a lesson? Here's one: never count us out." The flagship loomed ahead, massive and terrible. Kato's hand tightened on Mara's shoulder. Chen whispered a prayer. The shuttle slammed into the flagship's hull. Metal screamed as they punched through 3 humans against an empire. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The breach was chaos, alarms shrieking, bulkheads sealing, Vrak's warriors converging with inhuman speed. Mara landed hard, rolling beneath a hail of plasma fire. Kato followed, dragging Chen, her arm grazed, blood slick on armor but eyes sharp, teeth bared in a furious grin. No time to think. No time to plan. They pushed forward, the ship's corridors twisting like a living thing, each turn lit by the red pulse of emergency strobes. Vrak soldiers filled the passage, tall and monstrous, chitin plates reflecting the flashing lights. Mara moved like a shadow, her rifle barking death, every shot a refusal, every step a dare. Her calm flickered. Pirate allies, marines, civilians, dozens had made it onto the flagship, sowing chaos and confusion. The AI mapped a path through the labyrinth, elevator shaft, 50 meters. Direct route to command nexus. Enemy density, high. Odds of survival. "Don't care," Mara spat, sprinting down the corridor. Kato and Chen flanked her, guns blazing, grenades blooming into searing blue suns. The world shrank to noise and motion, a ballet of carnage and defiance. They hit the elevator shaft. Kato blew the doors. Mara leapt, catching a maintenance ladder, hauling herself up by brute force as Vrak's rounds sliced the air. Chen followed, a grimace on her face, hand locked around the rungs. Kato came last, pausing just long enough to hurl a flash charge that bought them seconds. Upwards, every muscle screaming, lungs burning with recycled air. The AI chimed in Mara's skull, hostage biosigns above. "Command Nexus. Zirak is waiting." "I know," Mara growled, pushing harder. They emerged into a vast, domed chamber. At its heart, Zirak, tall, armored in ceremonial silver, surrounded by a phalanx of Vrak's enforcers and, behind a shimmering force field, the terrified children of New Geneva. The air thrummed with the tension of 100 weapons trained on 3 broken humans. Zirak's voice was silk over steel. "Drop your arms. Accept your extinction with grace. Spare them your stubborn defiance." Kato's grip tightened, eyes burning. Chen's lips drew into a line. Mara holstered her rifle, stepping forward, hands open. All this power, all these ships, still afraid of a handful of survivors. You should be. Zirak cocked his head, curious. Your courage is admirable. Your defeat, inevitable. History doesn't remember the odds, Mara said, voice rising. It remembers the ones who refuse to kneel. The standoff crackled with unspoken challenge. Mara's neural AI whispered, disruptor in your gauntlet could overload the force field. 10-second window. Likelihood of success, marginal. Marginal had to be enough. She glanced at her team. Kato met her gaze, nodded once. Shen mouthed a silent go. Mara lunged, arm raised, disruptor flaring with stolen Vrax tech. Energy spat from her gauntlet, colliding with the force field in a blinding burst. The field shimmered, sputtered, then crashed. The children screamed, scattering. Zirak bellowed, Vrax soldiers charged. Kato threw himself into the fray, gun empty, swinging it like a club. Shen dragged the nearest child, ushering the others toward the shaft. Mara and Zirak met in the center of the storm, blades drawn, ancient rage meeting calculated cruelty. He struck like a viper, cold, precise, each blow designed to end her quickly. Mara fought with desperation and purpose, every instinct sharpened by the knowledge that humanity's last hope depended on her refusal to break. Their blades clashed, sparks lighting their faces. Zirak sneered. You humans always fight as if pain will make you immortal. She grinned through bloodied teeth. Not immortal. Just remembered. Zirak pressed the attack, strength overwhelming. Mara feinted, ducked low, and drove her blade into a seam in his armor. He roared, stumbled. In that instant, Kato barreled into the Vrax leader, grappling him to the ground. Zirak's claw lashed out, slashing Kato's side, mortal, vicious. Kato! Shen screamed, dragging another child away. Mara seized the AI's initiative. Lock the doors. Activate the virus. Now! In the ship's core, the forbidden AI awoke, spreading like wildfire through the Vrax systems. Lights died. Weapons misfired. The ship lurched, gravity faltering as chaos erupted. Mara fought her way to the wounded Kato, pressing a hand to his wound. He smiled, grimacing. Worth it, Captain. You get them out. She nodded, pain sharp as broken glass. No one gets left behind. Not today. The AI's voice returned, almost gentle. Path clear. Time is short. Mara hauled Kato up, flanked by Chen and the terrified, but living, children. Zirak's last scream echoed through the failing ship as they raced down the collapsing corridor, Vrax panic flooding the comms. They made the breach airlock doors open, pirate voices calling them home. Mara pushed Kato through, felt the warmth of Chen's hand, the tremble of the rescued children pressed against her. The ship exploded behind them, the flagship consumed by its own stolen technology. As the battered survivors tumbled into the safety of Allied arms, Mara looked out over the burning wreckage. Earth's sunrise pierced the clouds for the first time in years, pale gold over blackened skies. They had survived. Broken, battered, but defiant. And across the galaxy, every would-be conqueror would remember the day they said, enough, send in the humans, and learned what that truly meant.